everybody. Welcome to our latest edition of the Crossref webinars. Today we'll be covering the retraction watch metadata that is available in the REST API. And we will also present you a community case. We have Diane Benham as our guest. We can wait a couple of minutes just to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to join. And then we can start. Diane or Martin, can you confirm that you can see the slides in the,
Not at the moment, no.
Fantastic. Let's share this and then this. So what about now?
That's it. Yeah.
Perfect. So in the meantime, if the participants can start sharing, for example, in the chat where they are joining from, who is joining us, we can start interacting. I will try to keep an eye on the chat in case there are questions. But also we will have a couple of minutes after both our presentations to answer any questions that are still not answered. Hello, good morning. Oh, from Canada. Yeah, I think we can wait perhaps 2 more minutes. I see some people still joining, and then we can start. The presentation is also being recorded, so we can also share the slides and the recording afterwards. All right, I think we can start. So let me just start with a few introductions and our agenda. So today we will be covering the importance of the retraction watch metadata. We will be offering you a general overview of what is this metadata, what contains, what does it mean, how you can access this metadata through our interfaces. And as I was saying before, we will also cover a community use case of this metadata, in this case from GetFTR. So today, joining me, there is also Martin Riedman, my colleague from Crossref, program lead from the program and services team, and also Diane Benham, product director from GetFTR. And with that, I will hand it over to you, Martin.
Cool, thanks, Luis. So yeah, I'm just going to run through the Retraction Watch metadata and how you can access it. So yeah, you can go move on to the next slide. So I'm going to start with kind of a something very basic. So publishers publish something, and I'm talking in the most general sense. It may be a journal article, a book, a preprint, a poster, and this is kind of goes on online somewhere usually or in print, and then the metadata gets is sent to Crossref, and that goes into our database. If you go on to the next slide, what happens in thankfully very rare cases, but that publication is for whatever reason removed from the scholarly record, and there's various reasons for that. That's not really the topic of this seminar, this webinar, but things are retracted. Essentially, they're removed from the scholarly record, and that's typically done with the publication of a retraction notice. And in the ideal case, that retraction notice is sent to, is the metadata for that retraction notice also comes to Crossref. But as you'll see, I put a kind of dotted arrow on here to indicate that that's a bit of a leaky pipeline. And it doesn't always happen that way. And there's various reasons for that. And it's generally not anything malicious on the side of the publisher. The retraction is already online. Typically, it's there. It's available for people to find. What we've found from talking to publishers is that there's normally a couple of reasons that we don't get the metadata. The first is that the publishing systems they're using are built to send metadata in the first place. They're not built to update that metadata. And you can say, oh, well, can't they just change the system? Well, often maybe they're using a vendor which doesn't provide that facility, or some of the technical knowledge has been lost in the past, and they're not able to modify the system that they've got. And the other reason is that the majority of our members at Crossref are small organizations, and if you're publishing, say, less than 100 publications a year, then the chance of having a retraction is very low, and you'll probably only come across one once every few years. And so it's a very rare process, and there's not necessarily standard processes in place for how to handle retractions. So you've got to contact the authors, maybe contact the editors, talk to the person who originally maybe sent a complaint. There's another third party involved, maybe an institution. You've got to make a decision. You've got to publish the retraction notice, write the retraction notice, get everyone to agree on the text for that. And in all of this, which you're not used to doing anyway, you just forget that updating the metadata is something that's really useful to do. So if you can go on to the next slide. So the consequences of this are that this publication is out there, it's been retracted, and the retraction notice is on the publisher website, but it's not in the metadata. And then the metadata users that are accessing the metadata through Crossref and putting it onto various websites around the internet don't know that it's being retracted, and so this publication is not highlighted as being retracted in all the places that people might find it, and that's a bit of an issue. So yeah, next slide. This is where Retraction Watch comes in. So a number of years ago, they started reporting on retractions, and I've read the Retraction Watch blog religiously for many years. It's a really interesting read. And then a few years ago, they started to systematically collect the retractions and put them into a database. And then about 18 months ago, there was an agreement signed between Retraction Watch and Crossref to make this database open so that anyone could access it for free. And this was mutual benefit to us and to Retraction Watch. It enabled them to continue this work. It enabled us to get more metadata and kind of fill in this gap that we've got. If you can move on to the next slide. So just to look at where retractions come from. So on the Crossref side, it's very simple. Our members send us metadata, and if there is a retraction in the metadata, we know about it. If there isn't a retraction in the metadata, we don't know about it. Retraction Watch are doing something that we don't have the capacity and the resources to do in-house, which is to go out looking for retractions. So they're searching in other scholarly databases, publisher websites, doing just web searches, getting reports from people individually, and gathering potential retractions. And then they're checking those as a group of people who check those individually. They look for other information about the retraction, such as why was this thing retracted, who are the authors, where are the authors based, links to blog posts on Retraction Watch and some other links as well, and putting that all into their database. So it's quite a valuable set of information that they're putting together. Yeah, can move on. And so that kind of plugs this gap that we have in our pipeline. So something is published, it's then retracted, and maybe the member sends us, the publisher sends us the retraction information, maybe they don't. But if not, hopefully we pick that up via Retraction Watch. And we found that, Retraction Watch have a lot of the retractions that are missing, that have been missing from our database. So that's really valuable, and it's kind of filled that gap for us. We can move on. Yeah, so I just want to talk briefly about if you are a member and you are maybe in that situation of, oh, I'm not sure if we send you retractions and I'm not sure how to send retractions. If you want to register a retraction, you can use the XML snippet that's here. So you publish your retraction notice, and then you can put in the metadata this section here. I want to emphasize that any member can register retractions. It says Crossmark here. That's just the field that we use in XML. We have a service called Crossmark, but you don't have to be signed up and using that in order to send retractions to us. If you go on to the next screen, so it may be that you are depositing via XML, but you're in the situation that you don't know how to change your processes. Well, a great workaround is to use one of our helper tools, just a UI, which you can use to deposit retractions. So here, this is a screenshot from our web deposit form, and it's got a section, add crossmark metadata, and then you can add the same information here that's in the XML with the DOI that's being updated, and the fact that this is a retraction. So if you're not able to modify your process, this is maybe a nice way to deposit the metadata of the retraction notice to make sure that we have that information. So I'm going to move on now to talk about when you can. I think you skipped a slide, maybe. Okay, yeah. So just talking about how to access retractions, and there's two ways that we can do this. So yeah, you can move on again now. Sorry, thanks. So there's two places that you can access the Retraction Watch retractions, and the first is in a single CSV file. So I just seen a question come in that I can answer quickly. So do publishers usually deposit retraction actively on Crossref, or journal admins should individually do so? That depends on how your publisher is set up and who's responsible for sending the metadata to Crossref. Normally the person who will send the retractions to Crossref is the same who's sending the original metadata, but that may be different within different publishers. It's going to depend on how your organization is structured, I think. Sorry, I don't think I can give a kind of a more specific answer than that. Yeah, so one way that you can get all of the Retraction Watch retractions is a CSV file. So once a day, Retraction Watch send us an update to their file. We process that. We just do a little bit of processing. It's very light touch, and then we publish that on GitLab. The reason we put it on GitLab is a couple of things. One, you can just download it in with a single click. And the second is that you can use Git to just get the changes. So you can just go in every day and run a Git pull command in a terminal, and that will update the metadata or update the file for you. And this has everything in it. So it has the all of the information that Retraction Watch have gathered about the authors, the retraction, the DOIs, PubMed IDs, reasons for retractions, links to blog posts, and so on and so forth. you can go on to the next slide. And there's a few good reasons that you might want to access the CSV file. The first is that we've been using it for a while. It has been available for a while. It's been available for longer than the REST API, which I'll talk about in a moment. But it contains all of the Retraction Watch retractions in one place. So if you want to do maybe a large-scale study on retractions, that might be a great place to start. It also includes all this additional information that the Retraction Watch have gathered, which has been curated by them. And it's a human readable format. CSV will open in a spreadsheet, and you can look at it in Excel or another LibreOffice or something like that. Few reasons that it might not be the right thing for you is that it doesn't include the Crossref metadata and the retractions from Crossref members. And it might be that, depending on what you're using this information for, it might just be the wrong kind of information. And the other thing is that it's not filtered. So if you want to do any kind of filtering of this of the retractions, then you need to do that yourself, either with a script or some kind of macro in a spreadsheet. So yeah, we can move on to the other method for getting retractions, which is the REST API. So this is the Crossref REST API where we have all of our metadata, and we're talking specifically about the works endpoint of the REST API. So you can see in the URL here, it's api.crossref.org/v1 and then /work. So this contains all of our kind of articles, books, chapters, and preprints and so on. It's output in a JSON format, and you can see on the right-hand side here, I hope this is readable for you, but you can see there's a field called updated by, and within there you've got actually two retractions. So the first one, you can see the DOI of the retraction notice, the fact that it's a retraction, and then the source, which is the publisher. So in this case, the publisher of this work has been very good, and they've sent us information about the retraction. Now you'll see below that there's also another retraction, and the source in this case is Retraction Watch. And it's actually the same retraction. So Retraction Watch has picked it up, and the publisher's picked it up. This is great. We've actually got it more than once. But you'll find cases where quite a few cases, and this is why the data is valuable to us, but where there's only the Retraction Watch metadata, and there's not the publisher metadata. And you will also find cases where there's only the publisher metadata, and maybe because they're doing this curation process, there's a lag before Retraction Watch will pick up a retraction. So it may not immediately be there, depending on the publisher and Retraction Watch's processes. And hopefully not too many where it's been retracted and you don't see either of those. I mean, that's life, but hopefully that's kind of at a minimum these days. Okay, so yeah, can move on to the next slide. So yeah, reasons you might want to use the REST API. So to get if you want to have kind of you've got a local copy of retractions, or you just want to see what's within a certain time period, you can use a time filter to just get the latest updates, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. JSON is very machine readable. It's easy to process with scripts. I do this with Python and notebooks all the time. Luis does this with R, and there's other libraries available. Within the API, we have filters built in. So if you want to filter the data, you can do that. And again, I'll show you some examples in a moment. And of course, maybe one of the biggest benefits of the REST API is that you've got the Retraction Watch metadata and the Crossref member metadata in the same place. And you can compare, what the two different sources say, and maybe there are slight differences. Reasons it might not be the right thing for you is that it is a little bit more difficult to get all of the metadata and all of the retractions. You'll have to make multiple calls to the API, and if you just want a kind of maybe just the majority of retractions, you can just use the Retraction Watch CSV file. You do get retractions listed more than once, as we've just seen in an example. That may be a little bit confusing depending on how you're processing the data. but we've decided deliberately to do that for clarity. So you can see exactly what the publisher said, exactly what Retraction Watcher said, and you have the opportunity to compare these two. Now, I will just mention that one of the things that we ummed and ahed about, and there was some discussion and a little bit of disagreement around when we did this, was that we didn't include the reason for retraction in the REST API. And the reason that we haven't done that at the moment is that the members can't currently deposit a reason for retraction. That's something that we're going to change later this year. Hopefully that's in the plans for updating our metadata schema to allow that. But we decided that in the meantime, until the members are able to kind of give their side of the story, if you like, that we won't include that in the REST API, although those reasons are in the Retraction Watch CSV file. I guess the final thing to say is, there may be just too much information. Again, this depends on exactly what you want to do and how you want to analyze the data and use it. But there may be, information in the REST API that you don't need. So I just want to finish with a couple of, move on to the next slide, just a couple of recent changes. Oh, sorry, no, before that, examples of filters. So the base URL is at the top here with api.crossref.org. Really recommend that you use a mail to filter, which will help us to contact you if there's any issues with your queries. So there's three examples here. The first is to get retractions within a date range, and we see we've got the update type filter is retraction. You've got a from pub date, so this will get you all the retraction notices that were published in 2023. So from the 1st of January up to the 31st of December. And just a second example here with the is update filter. So this will get you not just retraction notices, but also corrections, erratums, and other types of updates. Might be something that you're interested in, maybe just a little bit more broadly than retractions. So next example is for retractions from a specific country. Maybe you're interested in really digging into what's being retracted from a specific region, and you can use a query.affiliation filter here, or the query parameter. And in this example, that will get you anything where an author affiliation includes Switzerland in it. And then the final example is using keywords in the title. So we have the update. Again, update type is retraction, and then query.title is COVID. So this will get you anything where COVID is mentioned in the title of the retraction notice. The final example here is has update, and the query.title is COVID. So this will get you anything with an update where COVID is in the title. So it has a correction or a retraction or something. And if you specifically want retractions here, you would then have to post-process a little bit just to get the retractions. But that's something that you could hopefully script without too many issues. Just a question I can see has come in again about, are retractions sometimes updated after being published or only the publication data? Good question. I think it is very rare, and it's something that publishers try to avoid, to update retraction notices or remove them. It does happen occasionally, but it's extremely rare. And I think there's very rare cases of I guess you could do a query for type is retraction, or has retraction is, I guess, update type is retraction, and has an update would maybe find you retractions that have been retracted or corrected. But yes, it's pretty rare. So just moving on to the last couple of things. So some very recent changes that we've made to our schema, which I think this audience might be interested in. So the first one is to add versions of articles. So here you can see that there's a version number, and there's a version description, which is maybe the reason that this change has been made. And this is especially useful, say, for posted contents, for preprints. And Yeah, next slide. So there's another change that we've made, also really specific to preprints, is a status for preprints. So if a preprint has been withdrawn, then that can go into this status. We can see the type of the status here is withdrawn, and then again there's a description to just give a short reason why this thing has been withdrawn. And typically for preprints there isn't a separate retraction notice that's published, so it really needs to be represented within the metadata for the preprint. And there's more information about this on our blog. It's still, I think, the latest post that's there. So with that, I think if there's any more questions, I can take them at the end of our presentation, and then I think I can hand over to Diane to talk about how GetFTR have implemented this.
Thank you, Martin, and thanks for inviting me to speak today. Can we go on to the next slide? I'll start by providing an overview of GetFTR before diving into how we use the data provided by Crossref. So to give it its full name, Get Full Text Research, or GetFTR as we call it, ensures that researchers can easily get to the trusted content they're entitled to, regardless of where they discover it. It does this by enabling discovery tools such as Semantic Scholar, Dimensions, or Mendeley to check DOI level entitlements directly with the publisher via the GetFTR API. And where a researcher is entitled to the content via an institution subscription or open access, the publisher provides a GetFTR smart link in that response. The discovery tool can then add the link to their UI along with the GetFTR indicator, which is the circle with the two arcs. And the indicator signals to the researcher that they have access to the full text. The GetFTR smart link takes them directly to the content or via their institution sign-in where necessary. And this removes the need to navigate publisher websites to find out where to authenticate. As entitlements are checked in real time at the DOI level, this means that content can be accessed as soon as a subscription has been set up. It also means that free and open content in hybrid journals can be accessed without a subscription. So last year, GetFTR added retraction and errata information from Crossref to the entitlement response so that discovery tools can display this alongside GetFTR buttons. More on this later. GetFTR is free of charge for any tool that wishes to check entitlements, and we also provide a free browser extension for researchers, which when installed, the extension adds links to the full text and retraction and errata information to any website where a DOI is located, such as social media, news sites, and discovery tools without a direct integration. Here's an example where the GetFTR extension has added links to Google Scholar. Next slide. Some information about who uses GetFTR and the scale of the service. It handles around 5 billion entitlement requests per year, with nearly 70% of article output accessible via GetFTR. This number is increasing all the time, as you can imagine, as new publishers come on board. Note that also publishers have started to use the service, so they not only provide entitlement checks, they're also checking other publishers' entitlements. And they're adding links to article references, which streamline researchers' onward journeys. Next slide. So what's happening behind the scenes? Actually, have we gone on 2 slides? Sorry, could you go one back? Thank you. So the researcher on the left-hand side is using their preferred discovery tool and searches for content using keywords or a DOI. Behind the scenes, the discovery tool that's integrated with GetFTR sends the DOI and the researcher's organization ID, such as their IP address or SAML entity ID, where federated authentication is used. So that's sent to GetFTR. GetFTR, since launch around 5 years ago, has been using the Crossref service even to identify the publisher for that DOI, so that GetFTR can then send the entitlement request on to the publisher where they're participating. The publisher responds to the entitlement request with a yes or no, depending on whether the researcher's institution has subscribed or the DOI is open or freely available. The publisher also provides the smart link that I spoke about earlier. And then at the end of last year, GetFTR now embellishes the response with retraction and errata data from Crossref and Retraction Watch and sends the response back to the discovery tool. The discovery tool adds the smart link and GetFTR indicator to the search result, abstract page, or wherever the researcher has discovered the content. And of course, the researcher clicks on the link to access the latest version of the full text or to read more information about the retraction or update. Next slide. So by flagging retractions and updates at the point of discovery, researchers have told us they feel more reassured about the status of the content. This information is currently displayed via the GetFTR browser extension, via PsycInfo and IOPP references, with more coming soon. And when clicking on a retraction or update button, GetFTR provides the document status page, which you can see at the bottom right. And this shows all updates in timeline format using data from both Crossref and Retraction Watch. Next slide. So as I mentioned, GetFTR currently uses both the Crossref API and Retraction Watch CSV, and this data is checked on a daily basis. GetFTR uses the Crossref API to source retraction and update data provided by publishers, and from the Retraction Watch CSV, which provides reasons and links to retraction notes or author corrections. And it stores this data alongside the DOI in GetFTR. So any service that integrates with GetFTR is provided with the retraction and update data, so that they can obviously display it alongside the GetFTR full text link. The document status page sorts records, removes duplicates, and then shows them in the timeline format. And we encourage, or we recommend that, or that I should probably say the document status page is freely available for anyone that wishes to use it. All that you need to do is send the DOI. So that's it. Please feel free to contact me if you'd like to hear anything more about GetFTR or how it can improve your users' experience. Back to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Martin and Diane. We have two questions, one in the chat and another one from Bianca, who wants to ask. Allegra, I think. Or if there is another question, please feel free to ask. In the meantime, I can see in the chat, does the FTR extension work on other databases such as PubMed?
Yeah, so any website, if the extension can identify the DOI and where the user is entitled, then a GetFTR button will be added.
Fantastic. Allegra, would you like to ask your question?
No, I don't know why I keep on being called. Sorry.
It's okay. I saw that you raised your hand, so it's okay. Perhaps it was an accident. Perfect. We have another question here. Is the country based on author or publisher or location?
Yeah, so the information in the REST API the filter that I showed, this is based on the author location, and I'm fairly certain that what's in the in the Retraction Watch database is also about author location as well. If you give me a couple of seconds, I can come back and double check that for you, because we have the information on our website. Yeah, but I think there's another question about the FTR extension as well. Does it work solely based on data from the Retraction Watch database?
Yeah, so there's the two functions that it provides. One is checking entitlements directly with the publishers that participate. The second is providing the retraction and update data. And we use the data both from the Crossref API and the Retraction Watch CSV.
Yeah, we have a question here from Sophie. Does the metadata include information on funding bodies, for example, Crossref funder registry?
Yeah, so let me just there's information about the I just posted a link in the chat, and oh sorry, I only posted it to the panelists, sorry. Yeah, there's information about the fields in the Retraction Watch CSV file on that page, and yeah, the country is the country of the author affiliation, so is not the country of the publisher. So yeah, if you use the REST API, then any funding information is in the metadata record alongside the retraction. Yeah, so you would be able to, we have a has funding filter. So if you wanted to specifically find out retractions with funding information, and I think you can also specify which funder as well. You can look for retractions from a specific funder. Yeah, I think that's one of the advantages of the REST API, that we combine the existing information that we get from the member with the Retraction Watch information. So I think there's probably some really useful research that could be done kind of cross, looking at retractions with certain properties.
We have two more questions in the chat related to the timing.
Yeah, so there's basically once a day, it's around about 6 o'clock East Coast US time. There's an update from Retraction Watch. It gets sent to us, and then I don't know, I think it's maybe 7 in the evening or about 11 Central European time. That gets processed by us. And updates the CSV file on GitLab, and is then added to the REST API. So it's basically once a day kind of scheduled update. So it's not a continuous feed. Yeah, I'm not sure it's in the daily feed. Will this retraction information be available? I'm not sure what specific retraction, but yeah, in the CSV file, updates are available on a daily basis, and then they just passed into the REST API immediately and available from there.
Perfect, thank you. In the meantime, in case there are more questions, I would like to remind you that you can always check our documentation. You can visit crossref.org/documentation to learn all about this information that we're providing and many other things. You can also visit our community forum. You can see the link here in the slide, where if you have any issue, probably there is a good chance that somebody else from the community also had something similar. So you can see, for example, or you can just freely and openly post your question. And this forum is also monitored by both Crossref, our ambassadors, and in general, the community is very active. So there's a good chance that someone will be able to help you. And if you want to contact us directly, you can just visit crossref.org//contact, and you can ask us your question directly. Alan, there is an additional question here. So the recent news about Wiley's retraction, was it notified by the publisher or through your manual tracker?
I'm not sure which specific, okay, this one, okay, this Retraction Watch. Okay, so this is, something that, so Retraction Watch kind of has two sides to it. One which is very kind of separate from Crossref, we don't really have so much to do with, which is the sort of journalistic side, and that's the side that's writing the blog posts. The side that we're in touch with is the people who are looking for retractions and adding them to the database. And I guess what happens is that, you know, when they find an interesting one of those retractions, they talk to the journalistic sides and say, hey, Ivan, do you want to write a story about this? You know, they will write that up as a story. So I can't say for sure how Retraction Watch found that retraction. If you look in the metadata records for the paper, you'll be able to see whether the retraction has been has been informed to us by Retraction Watch or by the publisher, or maybe by both up till now. I would suspect that this probably has the information from Retraction Watch and from Wiley, that we would have heard about it from both sides. Yeah, generally, so this is quite a large number of retractions, and I know that in these cases it takes Retraction Watch a lot longer to process the retractions. So there's normally a delay. If there's 200 things retracted at once, they have to look through each of those individually, and that will take them maybe some weeks to actually process all of those. So you may not immediately see it available in the Retraction Watch metadata. You're more likely to see that immediately in the publisher metadata. Yeah, I think the last question, can we expect the data to be available in Retraction Watch? If there is an article of this sort, yeah, for sure. If they're reporting on it on their blog post, then it's definitely in their it's in their database, or they're looking at it and will be adding it to the database soon. They might still be kind of curating the information.
There's another question here from
is there plan to accept retraction data from the community as well? We don't at the moment have the capacity for kind of a very large number of sources of retraction metadata, and I think, I'm sure at Cactus you do a great job of kind of curating these and making sure they're correct. We would want to kind of look into the curation processes and what have you to be able to verify that metadata. So I think what you might want to do in that case is maybe reach out to Retraction Watch and talk to them and say, yeah, we're looking for retractions as well. Would you be interested in those? And they can kind of look through them and do that do that curation process. It's not we're not looking to kind of open up a lot more sources of retraction information just at the moment. Yeah. But if you've got something that you think is interesting, Alan, feel free to drop me an email. Yeah, be happy. I don't want to say no. We definitely would not take that. But yeah, we'd yeah, we could take a look. Okay. Oh yeah, so Alison's just replied. She's one of the Retraction Watch elves who does a fantastic job of trawling through all this Retraction Watch, all these retraction metadata, and making sure it's such an amazing quality of data. So yeah, you can submit directly to Retraction Watch via a Google form.
We have a question here about retraction reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, so reasons for retraction. This is something that Retraction Watch defines themselves. Alison, would you like to respond to that? If you're able to unmute and talk through this, because I know you recently added a couple of extra reasons for retraction.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
I was like, where's my unmute? Okay. The reason for retractions are defined from the notice itself or from the reporting that's done by Retraction Watch, or perhaps Science has written about it, or Nature, or even New York Times, or any of those. Or if there's been institutional reports that have more information. So would there be retractions that have multiple reasons? Generally speaking, they do.
Great. Thanks, Alison.
Thank you. There is a question that perhaps is for you, Diane, about the GetFTR extension.
Yeah, so any discovery tool that doesn't have a direct integration. So if you take Google Scholar, for example, and then enter a search term like vitamin D retraction or retracted, and then you can scroll through the search results and you'll start to see some of those retraction buttons. Obviously, after having installed the GetFTR browser extension.
Yeah, it seems pretty useful to even just to be able to see if something's been retracted, even if you're not going to kind of access the work, just to kind of have that have that little flag that says retracted. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting questions. Is there another question? Otherwise, we can start closing the session. Once again, we will be sharing the slides and the recording. Make sure of keeping an eye on our channels to stay to know about other future webinars. Oh, okay, fantastic. There's another question here. Can anyone use the Retraction Watch data for developing a third-party application?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. GetFTR don't pay us to to access this data unless there is a kind of a metadata plus option if you're using very high frequencies. But yeah, there's a number of people who've done this. There are kind of websites that you can go to see retractions represented in different ways by a region or institutional author and things like this. People have done this already. People have written research papers, and I think there's some more in progress using the Retraction Watch data. Yes, please do. That's why Crossref exists. We're here to share the metadata to kind of act as a conduit. So you don't need to go to every single publisher website to find this information. So yeah, hack away at our API and use the data, please.
And then feel free to share about your developments in the community forum, for example.
Yeah, we'd be really interested to hear back. And I know Retraction Watch are also always really interested to hear about publications that have used and applications that use their metadata. So yeah, if you post in the forum or drop us an email somewhere to let us know, we'd be really interested to know.
All right, I think we can start closing the session. Once again, thank you very much, Martin. Thank you very much, Diane. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, with that, I will stop the recording. And I will finish the session. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Bye.